Chapter 7, Bodywork and Electronics. Welcome to Barrett Works. Let me talk first about the spinny elephant in the room. By that I mean turntable, or a Lazy Susan. I have one in the shop that I use for putting parts on where I need to work on all sides of them easily. And for some reason, it had not occurred to me to use it during the earlier chapters. I've pulled it off of the pegboards. It was hanging there ready for use, and the printer is now on it. Lo and behold, it fits perfectly. So, as if I had a piece of cabinetry that I was working on, the printer now is easily rotated, and I can get around to all sides. And I do wish I had thought of this earlier. And we start with the bodyworks. So I'm working with the metal stamped profiles. I've already installed the two front vertical profiles, and now I'm pre-building the upper square frame piece that's going to get placed on the top and attached with screws. Metal on metal fittings, so I'm using blue Loctite. After that's all in place, the back of the Core XY assembly will be tied into the frame as well. And at that point, the entire rigid structure of the printer is done, with the exception of however much rigidity it gains from the side panels, which will be attached later. After this, there's a period working in the back to tidy up the cabling and cover up the main electronics board and the NFC antenna, adhered inside the electronics cover, and then that cover is going to be attached. So at the end of the electronics portion of this chapter, the entire back of the printer will be closed up and finished. Here I'm assembling the side filament sensor, which will be installed at a later step. But the real question is why? I've had the side filament sensor removed from my XL for over a year, and I've had this filament sensor turned off since I began using the Core One. There are some useful comments in the comments portion of the Prusa instructions, with perhaps the most important being that if the front profile holes do not align with the Core XY assembly, the Core XY assembly may not be fully seated on the rods. There was a useful comment suggesting that we turn the screws into the plastic holes in the spool holder ahead of time, back them back out, in essence pre-threading the holes before mounting them on the side panel. I did that. It seemed to be helpful. There was a comment at step 739, I believe, by M. Terra to help with attaching the external handle to the filament sensor when putting the right side panel together, where you put a screw temporarily through the panel into the filament sensor to get it into the roughly correct position. Rotate it, put a screw through on the other end, through the handle into the filament sensor, and then go back and remove the front screw and rotate the parts into alignment. May be hard to visualize from what I've just said, but take a look at that comment. I found it useful, and I followed that process. When installing the NFC cover, many of us found that the M3x10 screw on the right did not protrude as pictured and did not engage correctly. There are quite a few solutions discussed in the comments. I suggest you take a look, from using a slightly longer screw to reaming out the hole. I chose to ream the hole out. I did it with a drill, which may be the extreme solution. If you do that, be very careful you don't go too far. I'm about to turn my attention to the right side panel and preparing the spool holder, and then back to using nylon rivets as we attach the side panels. There was a comment about attaching from the bottom, then the sides, then the top, pushing the rivets in that pattern. I have a check mark next to it, which makes me think I followed it, but right now I don't remember the logic of how that would improve the process. Certainly I had no trouble installing the panels. As I build that panel, you may notice that the handle I install is black, not the standard Prusa orange. I printed a different handle. I printed the Prusa Core One PTFE Bowden Tube Connector Mod handle, put on printables by Bullet 168. It's a remix of another design, and gave me a metal PTFE fitting rather than the plastic collet that is the standard kit on the right side. That just about finishes chapter 7. Next up is 8, Trim Door and XLCD. It's the last chapter that I filmed in the shop, and so it will be the last chapter of this video series. The final section in Prusa's instructions, Chapter 9, which is the calibration and first tests, were done in the studio as I began to actually use the printer. And I must admit, as I finished this and the printer was on the turntable, I spun it around a few times just to admire how cool it was to have it almost be finished. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and stay tuned for the next and final chapter.